the end of the day, it's bigger than Rick Ross and it's bigger than Young Jeezy. You know what I mean? It's a culture that we represent, and at the end of the day, we never has stepped on each other's toes.
There are moments in hip-hop when a single bar, a sharp line, or even a simple shout-out sparks something that moves far beyond the music. And that's exactly what happened the day Rick Ross stepped into the wrong space and brushed up against one of Atlanta's most respected and feared crews.
Of the most dangerous gangs out there.
Hey Rick, straight up, you know what you did first time we gave you a pass on the Larry Hoover Big Meat song. Now, you done really disrespected the organization by putting your face on, you gonna put your star on, your face in this star right here.
That's
see
what
that
you
right
don't
there?
do.
It ain't number 3 people that rock this star, the Jews, GD, Illuminati. GD, folks! GD!
It began quietly, just one lyric placed into a song, delivered with the confidence of someone who believed he controlled the field. He didn't expect it to create a chain reaction that put whole neighborhoods on alert. Atlanta's drill, trap, and street world operates under rules that existed long before many rappers showed up. So when Ross' name got linked to a certain phrase, the streets lit up. Who allowed that bar? Who approved it? And more importantly, who was going to address it? Atlanta's underground has always guarded its space. Reputations there come from loyalty, history, alliances, and real conflict over decades. So when Ross mentioned a crew known for protecting their name with actual force, nobody took it as creative expression. They viewed it as a direct disrespect. Word spread quickly, from west side blocks to south side corners, creating a wave of attention that couldn't be ignored.
What is it? What is it, Jeezy?
Where your favorite rapper at? I don't see that. I'm in the streets. Good look behind me. Yeah, hip hop talking about, nigga. My Crip. Yo.
Rap fans treated it like another competitive line, but the people connected to that name didn't see it that way. Their status wasn't built on social media posts or luxury cars. It came from real situations, real losses, and a presence that demanded acknowledgement. Things escalated when Atlanta artists began responding indirectly, posting cryptic messages, sending subtle warnings. A conflict was forming, and no one expected Ross to be caught in the middle. At the same time, the city was already dealing with long-standing tensions. Trap artists carrying the weight of older neighborhood issues, major figures who helped shape entire movements. One of those figures was Young Jeezy, someone with serious influence both in the streets and the industry. And because Jeezy had his own long-standing issues with Ross, the situation didn't stay contained. Their tension had been simmering for years. Small comments in interviews, cold exchanges backstage, quiet conversations suggesting their history wasn't resolved. When Ross's lyric touched Atlanta's real street structure, it pulled Jeezy back into the situation immediately. Crews began selecting sides. Artists moved more carefully. People in the industry whispered that something serious was developing. This was no longer a music disagreement. It turned into a deeper clash involving street connections, major names, and regional pride coming together at once. It was the moment Ross learned the South protects its legacy, respects its codes, and does not overlook violations. One lyric opened the door to a confrontation with people whose names aren't used casually.
So in my words, I just feel like a lot of these cats are actors, rappers, and I'm Jeezy, you know what I'm saying? And they can never be me.
Ross didn't just start a small disagreement. He walked straight into a situation he wasn't prepared for. And from this point forward, things only became more intense. To understand why Ross ended up in the middle of this conflict, you have to look at his long history with Young Jeezy. Both artists shaped an era when trap music went global. Each built careers that mixed entertainment with a sense of realness. But behind the scenes, tension was always present. Jeezy's rise came from Atlanta's blocks, crews, and long-standing connections, while Ross created an image that some people questioned. That difference caused early friction, and once both reached mainstream fame, fans compared more than their music. They compared their authenticity.
Their rivalry peaked around 2010 when trap was dominating everywhere. Jeezy made vague remarks in interviews suggesting some rappers exaggerated their backgrounds. Ross took those comments personally. The back and forth continued in mixtapes and features, with neither naming the other directly, yet everyone knew who they were addressing. Fans treated it as entertainment, but insiders saw the tension growing. Every award show, backstage moment, and festival lineup felt like it could turn into a confrontation. And it finally did in 2012 at the BET Hip Hop Awards when their entourages clashed behind the scenes. Security struggled to contain it, equipment was damaged, and headlines went everywhere. Both sides tried to calm the situation publicly, but everyone understood years of pressure had erupted. After that incident, the Ross and Jeezy relationship shifted permanently.
What is it? What is it, Jeezy?
Where your favorite rapper at? I don't see that. I'm in the streets. Good look behind me. Yeah, hip hop. Crip.
That moment shaped everything that followed, including the reaction from the Atlanta crew angered by Ross's lyric. None of this happened randomly. The city's underground already viewed the Ross versus Jeezy situation as a symbol of deeper issues. Jeezy's connections gave him significant influence. His supporters weren't just listeners. They were people with presence, history, and strong ties. So when Ross referenced the wrong crew, no one overlooked it. They treated it as a direct challenge, maybe even a deliberate move. Social media amplified it. Memes, rumors, clips, every platform added pressure. Even people who didn't fully understand the street politics felt the tension. Then came the private conversations. Messages were exchanged, calls were made, OGs stepped in. Industry executives quietly discussed whether Ross should adjust his tour schedule. It wasn't fear, it was precaution. Atlanta has always addressed disrespect directly. The city's history is full of clashes involving artists, neighborhoods, and crews. And when outsiders step into old issues, the response is usually severe. Ross didn't realize one lyric had turned into an open doorway for conflict. As pressure increased, Jeezy's name inevitably became part of the story again, even if he didn't ask for it. The line Ross used wasn't meant to be harmful, at least from his perspective. He thought he was using a tough, bold reference, the type of lines rappers use to show confidence. But Atlanta didn't view it that way. The crew felt Ross was inserting himself into a legacy he hadn't earned, mentioning a name tied to real events, real loyalty, and real consequences. They had no intention of letting anyone casually reshape their history.
But I assure you, I can't speak for everybody,
Right.
but ain't nobody put no hands on me.
I heard that.
Yeah, so I mean, I can't say that for everybody involved.
He stepped up though. He took a deep breath. When he stepped up, he had to face me though, to get to Jeezy. And when he stepped up, I yanked his chains off.
When that lyric circulated, the crew responded in the only way they knew, by making it clear the line wouldn't be ignored. Their people began appearing in clubs, shows, and neighborhoods, openly discussing the situation. Some even posted indirect warnings online. No names used, but the message was understood. Overnight, the energy in the city changed. Suddenly, it seemed risky for Ross to appear in Atlanta without heavy security, and promoters quietly considered canceling events to avoid problems. Meanwhile, Jeezy's team stayed silent publicly. But that silence only fueled speculation. Was Jeezy involved? Did he approve the reaction, or was he staying distant? Industry sources claim Jeezy wasn't trying to escalate anything, but he also wasn't stepping in to stop it. From his perspective, Ross had created the situation himself. And because the responding crew had ties to neighborhoods Jeezy respected, the tension naturally brought his name back. Bloggers and street reporters began digging deeper. Old interviews resurfaced, older clips reappeared, and comparisons between Ross's image and Jeezy's real-world credibility returned to the forefront. Ross's boss persona was questioned again, and this time the streets weren't willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. The conversation shifted from a lyric to a debate about identity, authenticity, and respect. Many in Atlanta felt Ross was using culture he didn't fully understand. At first, Ross didn't grasp how serious everything had become. His team dismissed the reaction as overstated, but when Atlanta radio hosts started treating him with cold energy, the message was clear. The city wasn't impressed. They weren't accepting explanations. They wanted accountability, and the crew involved wasn't known for letting things go. Their name was built on action, not excuses. As the pressure increased, Ross found himself stuck between two choices: escalate or quietly step back. Neither option made Ross look strong. Atlanta had cornered him in a way few cities ever had. This wasn't rap theatrics anymore. It had become a real standoff driven by pride, local loyalty, and years of unresolved tension. As the pressure increased, Ross's camp started making adjustments. They brought in extra security, changed travel paths, and limited his time in Atlanta. The situation felt too real to ignore, and the crew's reputation made it clear that acting like nothing happened wasn't possible. Hip-hop has unwritten rules. Respect the cities that shaped the genre, acknowledge the names that built the foundation, and never claim associations with people who don't acknowledge you. Ross unintentionally broke all three, and the consequences started showing. Atlanta OGs stepped in to prevent the conflict from turning into something more serious. Behind the scenes, private talks reportedly occurred as people on both sides tried to de-escalate quietly. No one wanted things to turn tragic. But the crew wasn't quick to forgive, and younger voices in the city weren't backing off either. At the same time, Ross's lingering feud with Jeezy kept the tension alive. Jeezy had his own reasons for staying silent, but the public tied everything back to him. Fans framed the issue as Jeezy standing up for Atlanta, even though he never spoke on it. Their rivalry became symbolic. Ross, the loud outsider with a heavy presence; Jeezy, the homegrown figure rooted in real street life. Every interview, post, or appearance from either man was analyzed. Content creators jumped on the story, long videos, theories, street breakdowns, turning the feud into national conversation. Even casual fans weighed in on Ross's mistake. The situation grew from Atlanta versus Ross into a broader debate on what authenticity means in hip-hop. People started questioning whether rap personas had drifted too far into dangerous territory. Ross eventually recognized that talking publicly made it worse. His next album noticeably reduced the aggressive street claims, a change fans quickly noticed. Some called it growth. Others thought he felt the pressure. Meanwhile, reports said certain Atlanta crews still weren't satisfied. The problem wasn't fully resolved. Ross also felt minor business setbacks. Nightclubs hesitated to book him due to safety concerns. Atlanta artists paused features to avoid becoming involved. Industry insiders said executives were nervous. One wrong moment could turn the situation serious. Atlanta's rap scene has always been powerful, built on unity and shared principles. When an outsider disrespects key figures or foundational names, the city moves together, and Ross had stepped into something he didn't fully understand. Once Ross entered that controversy, he walked directly into the line of fire without knowing how deep Atlanta's roots went. Even though the public tension cooled over time, privately things were still unsettled. The Atlanta crews who reacted to his lyric still believed he owed acknowledgement. Industry talk suggested a few quiet meetings were arranged by major Southern players to smooth things out between Ross and important figures in the city. Nothing was officially confirmed, but the sudden shift in energy hinted something changed. Ross began choosing his words more carefully on later tracks, steering away from unnecessary references to street groups. Meanwhile, Jeezy slowly reestablished his presence in the trap conversation. As questions about Ross's credibility grew, Jeezy gained momentum without doing anything. The streets respected that he didn't need to go online or escalate. The city spoke for him. Their feud didn't vanish, but with Ross focused on repairing relationships, it stopped dominating headlines. Still, no one forgot the BET incident, and documentaries continue revisiting that moment today. The real shift came when Atlanta's younger generation moved on to new artists and new rivalries. The tension around Ross faded naturally, but the situation remained one of the defining moments of his career, not because of danger, but because it forced him to face the limits of his image. He learned quickly that some cities don't tolerate borrowed credibility, especially when it involves active crews with real history behind their names. This entire situation sparked bigger conversations about authenticity in hip-hop. Critics and historians noted how rappers often walk a fine line between reflecting street reality and exploiting it. Ross's situation became the key example of what happens when that line is crossed without proper respect. Artists across the country began rethinking how they mentioned gangs, sets, and neighborhoods in their music. To Ross's credit, he managed the fallout without destroying his career. His businesses grew, his albums kept coming, and many fans eventually moved on. But the message stayed clear. Street ties aren't props, and borrowing someone's reputation can bring real consequences. The Atlanta crew involved didn't need big statements or dramatic moves. Their presence alone reminded Ross and the rap world how serious these issues can be. Over time, people connected to both Ross and Jeezy slowly relaxed the tension. Mutual friends pushed for peace. Both men matured, and the industry shifted. Atlanta's rise as a global music force helped redirect attention toward protecting the culture instead of fueling unnecessary conflict. But hip-hop has a long memory. The moment Ross referenced the wrong name at the wrong time is locked in rap history, a reminder that respect has to be earned. Looking back, the ordeal shows how quickly rap can move from entertainment to real danger. Hip-hop has always been tied to the streets, but this situation highlighted that not every artist understands the weight of the codes they mention. One lyric put Ross at the intersection of Atlanta's street politics and deep regional pride, dropping him into something far more complex than any lyrical exchange. Atlanta wasn't chasing attention. The city was defending a legacy built on loyalty, struggle, and survival. Years later, the moment is still analyzed because it proves how powerful one line can be when delivered in the wrong context. Atlanta's crews don't operate like normal fan bases. They represent decades of shared history. Jeezy standing in the city only intensified everything, adding layers to the narrative. Ross wasn't facing a simple misunderstanding. He was facing the weight of Atlanta's identity, the same identity that shaped modern hip-hop. Titles like Boss, King, and Don get used freely in rap. But in the South, respect is the real standard. When Ross ended up in conflict with a respected Atlanta organization, he challenged a hierarchy he didn't fully grasp. That's why this moment is remembered as a major collision, an image running into reality. Ross ultimately got through it by being strategic, avoiding risky environments, softening certain references, and letting mediators cool things down. But even as the tension faded, the lesson spread throughout the industry. Artists began revising their bars. Labels understood that brushing up against real conflicts could disrupt tours, deals, and careers. Interestingly, the situation also changed how fans viewed authenticity. The public became more aware of the difference between real connections and created personas. People respected artists who stayed truthful, while questioning those who exaggerated stories. Ross wasn't canceled, but he became a widely used example of how forced narratives can backfire. Meanwhile, Atlanta maintained its position at the top. The city proved again that its influence reaches far beyond local borders. From trap music to global hits, Atlanta leads because its authenticity runs deep. When Ross crossed that boundary, he unknowingly emphasized how powerful that authenticity is. Today, the incident stands as a warning for rising artists. Words hold weight, cities remember everything, and street codes don't bend for fame. Respect is not optional, it's required. And when someone crosses that boundary, the impact can echo through the whole culture. As always, thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe for more street-focused hip-hop coverage, cultural breakdowns, and hidden stories from the rap world.